Hi friends, David here from Learn Stage Lighting, and in this video, I'm pumped, I'm really excited because we're here to talk all about Onyx version 4.10.1. I don't know what we call it, but we're excited about it. I think it's .10. Let's dive in. Onyx version 4.10, it's no secret that, various beta versions of 4.9 have been in beta like forever. And that's kind of on purpose. So the Onyx team we've chatted about it a few times during this time, and they're moving towards, longer beta periods where things get better, there's more new features and things get fleshed out better, more bugs get found and things get better tested before they come out. Because if you may remember, if you've been around Onyx, maybe you know, maybe you don't. Last time they came out with a major release, it was about a year and a half ago, and there was just a weird bug with touchscreens on NX1s that came up right away and some other stuff, and they had to fix it right away. And you'd rather get that stuff out in a beta than a release version. Of course, having worked with software teams, I know it's so difficult because in beta testing, no matter how stable it is, you're only going to get a certain amount of people testing it in real shows, right? And it's tough, right? When you're doing shows, you don't want to use something that could be unreliable. That being said, I've used the betas in shows. Now it's out, and I'm pumped to bring to you guys today my top new features and kind of a new features tour of what I find to be the most notable new features in Onyx 4.1. So there's some big stuff in here. The first is, and I'm looking over here at the changelog, is the park default highlight and offset changes. And there's a note in there as well that if you're bringing in older show files, you may notice some changes here. You may have to redo your defaults if you have default presets set, things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, do something, right? I'm going to go ahead and pull up this override and turn some stuff on real quick just to give us some lights to work with. And I thought that was an override. There we go. And so just give us something to work with. Give us some color here. Beautiful. Okay. So, oh my goodness, that's DyLoS color. Let's just go to a sample queue. So, any hoozles. Yeah, that'll work. I just want something to work with. So the first thing, like I said, is those various windows. So I'm in the sample file from Onyx 4.6, so I'm not going to have all of these things in views. So if you're working off an older file, you will find that they are in some new windows here. And so there is a new default window, which of course I got to find because I always forget where it is. So yes, there's default, there's park, I believe the park window's new, offset, and highlight. Let's pound them all out right now. Okay, so if I go back here, default has changed entirely from how it worked before, and I must say, it's pretty stinking awesome. It does take a minute to get used to. So when you go through the default window, and default is so helpful for so many things. We go into this in our training videos and Learn Stage Lighting Labs. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But default can be so helpful for setting a default position on lights. And before, it was just hey, record, into the default preset, everything in your program records, done. It's a little bit different now. Let's walk through it. So I'll press edit up here, okay? And now I'm in the edit mode and everything turns orange down here. We get all these orange outlines, right? And so now what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to go, and I believe on the ground those are the darts, so those are 401 through 412. So let's just go 401 through 412. And let's actually just do 401 through 406 just for funsies. And so what we're going to see now is this is where the default level is set, and it's all outlined in orange. So this is your pretty standard defaults. Every fixture is going to have the standard default set. So intensity is going to be at 0, strobe is going to be open, pan and tilt are going to be at 50%, which is the middle of their range. Things like colors. For anything that has an intensity channel, your colors will be at full. For anything that does not have an intensity channel, your colors will be at 0. If they're additive colors, like red, green, blue, etc., etc. things, are open, white, etc. So what I can do now is if I want to set where we're sitting in pan tilt right now to the default, I just go ahead and press right click and press load. Or if I'm on a console, hold load and tap my encoder really fast, okay? So that's a big tip there. And now you see it's changed the values here. I've loaded them. I can adjust them manually if I so desire. But it's kind of in a blind mode where you actually don't see it outputting to the stage. And you can see that there. So I'm just going to load this to what's on the stage. And then I'm going to click out of edit mode. Okay. I'm going to clear twice. And you'll see that now we've got some hard values in here, right? We've got these values recorded in here, and you see they turn in white instead of being the kind of grayed out inactive default values. They've been changed, right? So now, if we go ahead and we stop this cue here, you're going to see there that if we go 401 through 412, we bring it up to full. Oops. You're going to see that the ones that we change the default position to, when we clear everything, all the cues stop. That's where they go. Okay, so that's default. Default's been in Onyx for a long time, but this whole hitting edit, changing it is new, and it's exciting. Park is very similar. So park is when you take fixtures or parameters and you put them there like no matter what, right? So for example, if I just take fixture 401, and I park it at full, maybe it's a work light, right? And I go ahead and I brought it at full, so it should be parked here. I hit edit. Now it's parked. It's showing it full. And you can see I can adjust it outside of park when I clicked off that edit mode, but it's not going to do squat. Now, that being said, it's still in the programmer. Okay, and so this is key about park. If you've used other consoles, you're probably familiar with this. It's in the programmer. I can record this light at 43% somewhere. Okay, so just to show you, it's in there, right? I can record that into cues. It's just not going to actually take effect or output to the stage until I unpark it. Okay, so that is something to be aware of as well. Offset is really cool. I use this in a video on the mod scenes motion hoist. Check that out here if you haven't already. And it's very similar. Hit edit, go into the dialogue, but let's just go to 402. We now have for every single channel an offset. Okay, how does this work? So this is interesting and funky and cool. And it's basically a way that you can, on the fly, just really quick, shove the output of a particular fixture. And this is really huge because sometimes maybe you have a show that tours between multiple venues, and you get to a venue and you just need to take everything and just, shove it upstage, shove it positive tilt, say. Or maybe, you need to just take a couple fixtures and shove it in one direction or another. And this works on things like pan and tilt, but it works on any parameter. I think it's most useful on pan and tilt, but I'm sure there's other applications where it works well. And it's just a quick and dirty shove all the output. So this is different than updating presets, but it's just totally temporary or permanent, really, override on everything. So let's just say I go ahead with this fixture and I take the tilt and I shove it in the positive direction. So you might be able to see it moving in the visualizer. Basically, if I shove it in the positive direction, the tilt goes up from where it is, okay? And it's pushing it, in this example, 57% more positive than it was before. So in the example of the mod scenes hoist video, again, link to that below. We linked to it on a card before. I took them and basically used that to limit their range. I believe I took it negative a bunch so that they could only go from 0 to a certain percentage so they wouldn't hit the floor. We established a limit there. So very cool, especially when working with fixtures like those motion fixtures or even moving lights in DyLoS. This can be really helpful. So, you can go and you push it positive or negative. So let's just say we push it negative 20%, okay? And it is percentage based, which is interesting. And we lock that in, okay? And then we go ahead and we fire through those sample cues again. So clear twice. You can see here now, we're firing through those cues. I didn't update any presets. I didn't update any cues, but this light that I updated the offset for, 402 here, it is now shoved 20% on the till everywhere. So it's really cool because if you just need to walk into a venue or last minute, you're like, oh no, the lights are going down too far, they're getting into the camera, into people's eyes, and I just need to shove them all 5% upward. It's like really quick and dirty and easy to just lock that in. You can change it later. It doesn't affect any of your existing programming. So, if you have a light that's dipping down too far, there's a new set piece that's only there for one night, whatever, you can just shove the lights a percentage and be off to the races. And I'm sure there will be more and more applications for this that other people find that I haven't thought of yet. Highlight's going to be the same thing. So again, works just like the default. There's multiple highlight palettes. You can choose the one you want here by making it active. You can set a highlight and low light for any of your fixtures. Pretty stinking cool. And so let's move on to the next things. What's next in the release notes? When I see here actually on the release notes, that's funny. The web page is actually cutting off a little, so I'm going to pull it in over here because it was actually cutting off on the when I had it on my vertical monitor. So let me just look here, find the next thing that I'm excited about, which there are many. Yes, merging. Okay, so I hadn't noticed that before, but you can merge your programmer contents into default values. So let's take a look at that. So let's just say I grab some of my fixtures and I move them and I bring them to 50%. Build that beautiful piece of lighting right there, though it's not. Hit record and looky who there. Special. Aw, special. Default values. So now it's saying, what do you want to do? Oh man, I had not noticed this before. This is so stinking cool. You don't even have to go to that default window. You can just merge programmer or replace. Now remember, with replace, you got to be careful because it will dump everything else out in your programmer or everything else that's in your default values that's not in the programmer. Okay, so very cool. I can just merge what's in the programmer there into the default. Now, if we go ahead and get rid of all of our cues, which would be snap and release, and so we'll just go ahead here, hold snap, because I don't have a console connected, release. Now we can see in the default values are those lights, not the intensity though, because I didn't store the intensity. There they are. It was kind of an interesting transition between the two, but it does return to that default once we fade everything out. Very cool. What's next? Pan tilt values in highlight, low light presets, pretty self-explanatory. They weren't there before, now they are. You can copy between them, cool. Telnet and UDP. All right, so this might look like a bunch of gibberish for you, but essentially this is actually really cool. So Telnet and UDP are items that were in the Onyx Manager before. So you could go here and you could launch this obscure program called Onyx Manager, it's great. It's just, it was built by one of the former developers of M-Series and Onyx. Well, just M-Series, really. And it's always been here. They added it to the consoles a few years ago, and now they're pulling pieces out of it to make it, because it's really a pretty clunky interface, though it is powerful, and they're pulling them into the console. So now, in the menu, in the remote settings, there is now Telnet, okay, which is killer. So Telnet is really cool. If you use, for example, Companion to automate things in your event, if you use QLab, and I'm sure there's others as well, Telnet allows you to really easily trigger queues, and it's not even part of, we better check the licensing page, but previous to this, it's been outside of the licensing. So in free mode, you can do UDP and TCP, and I don't see any notes here about being in free mode, like this one. So I think it's totally free in free mode and everything. The cool things about it is, one, there's two things that are really cool about Telnet, if I can geek out about it for a minute. Number one is it's super lightweight. It's super easy to set up. You set the ports basically. I think the default is TCP. Honestly, I'm not that good of a network engineer, but you can do one, you can do both, you can do either. You set the interface just like any other network thing in Onyx, and then you can send commands to fire specific queues within specific queue lists. So it actually does more than OSC, for example. because OSC has some limitations, like I believe you can't fire a specific cue. You can't go playback 4Q3 with OSC. I don't think there's a command for that. In Telnet there is. Not only that, but if you're programming a show with automation, it's a lot easier than copying and pasting these whole OSC commands and customizing them, etc. So you literally just, as an example, GQL means go cue list. So you just do GQL, you type the number of the cue list, okay? So that's, if you're here at the bottom, just this number right here, number 19, for example, I have selected here. You just GQL 19, release cue list, RQL, etc. And so it's just so stinking easy. In fact, I think it should be in the manual somewhere, but I think under GQL, you go cue list, and then you can do, you know what, let's just look it up. I think you can do the specific cue within that. So yeah, you go in here and blah, 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 Telnet and UDP commands. So yeah, go cue list number. So you can go, cue list is the cue list number. Oh, so yeah, go to cue would be the one that I was thinking of. So you can go to cue, and then you would hit cue list 14, for example, comma 3 for the third cue. Okay, so perfect, nice and easy. Great reference here in the manual. Thank you, Mr. Girardi, who made that probably. That is wonderful. Okay. Oh my goodness. So next, this video is going to get long, isn't it? Input processors to DyLoS. This one, I'm going to admit, feels a little heavy when you first get started with it, but it's really stinking cool. So let's talk about it. That being said, if you're new to Onyx, or even if you've been around for a while and you want to dive deep into all of these features, everything inside of Onyx, inside of Learn Stage Lighting Labs, we cover every feature in Onyx, and we do it on the most recent release version. So 4.10 came out literally yesterday, last night. We're going to start recording those videos right away, getting them up in the labs, so that our videos are always up to date with the latest version of Onyx. And that's huge when you're trying to learn, or you're trying to just get better, or embrace the new stuff. So we have a free trial. You can check it out for 2 weeks. Check out all the videos, our community forums, where our lighting experts help you get the most out of your system. We have a lot of Onyx users in there, and we would love to have you as a member. It's well worth your money. Not only that, but the personalized prices inside of Learn Stage Lighting gear. If you go quote stuff from us, it's so worth your money. We got so many happy users, and we're the only place with consistently up-to-date always videos with the latest Onyx version. That's not not a slide at the official videos or anything like that. It's just a fact that we keep that stuff up to date, and we would love to be your place to buy all of your Onyx stuff, all of your lights, all of your audio, even if you're in the US, because we keep adding more audio. It's wonderful. Okay, so DyLoS input processors. This one's going to get a little bit heavy, so let me pause for a second, grab a quick drink of water. In DyLoS now, if we go, for example, to the sync tab, we now have even more stuff. So input and sync. I sometimes forget what's new and what's not, just because I spent so much time in the beta versions. But these are really huge. So there's a number of things going on here that we could show you real quick. So the first is NDI video, then NDI audio and ASIO audio. Okay. Then Ableton link, MIDI clock, and beats, okay? And then reference processor, which honestly is a little heavy and I haven't spent as much time with, and the metronome visual effect, which is really cool. So let's dive into it. Okay, first, NDI. So if we go into our menu very first and go to NDI, just to show you, you can turn this on any of your IP addresses. So I'm going to go to my Ethernet, actually, because I know there's some NDI streaming on there. I guess we'll leave the local on. And now we are able to send NDI from a variety of programs. And so NDI, if you're not familiar, let's start there, is network-based video. It's awesome. It's pretty lightweight. It's fast. And we can use it in DyLoS. So how stinky cool is that? Nodes will then show up as well as input streams, and you can then turn these on. Okay. And so what I'm going to do, just as an example, because I do have a camera on the network, but it's not showing up right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to launch Resolume really quick, just as an example. Where is it? Oh, there it comes. So when I'm recording, I know it's a lot. So we get Resolume. We're doing output. I think NDI's on, so we're just going to, let's do something a little, ooh. Okay, that one's cool. Maybe this fire one. Oh, all kinds of stuff. Why not? So now in NDI, oops, we should be able to turn on our desktop here, turn on our input stream, and we should start to see stuff. Oh, so this is actually NDI from the NDI official tools. So it looks like I need to turn on my NDI here just a second, because I am not a Resolume expert. Ah, yes, there it was. It was the old allow local NDI sources. So now we've got Resolume Arena. We can turn it on. It matches exactly what I'm outputting, which is cool. We can do low latency or smooth playback. I would probably recommend smooth playback for most things, but especially if it's coming from a different computer, low latency might work really great for you. So now we can go ahead, and I believe we can turn all this stuff on from here, but we can go right click or hit edit and tap on screen, create input source here. And so it's basically the same between sync and input. So for NDI, I actually want to be on input usually. And here I've got my source, but I believe, so I can go to NDI type. Yeah, I do have to set it up first in the preferences, but then I can pull that source in here into the library. Now, the really big key about that is that it creates, kind of like a palette, kind of like a preset, where it gives you a little bit of space so that if your NDI stream changes, you're good to go. So you see here, boom. Now we've got it. It's coming in. We can fire it to DyLoS. It's literally exactly what's coming from our other computer, our other source. If it's coming from a client, if it's coming from Stage, you're always going to have their video feed as an input. But if it changes, or if there's a backup one or whatever, you can literally just edit the input source and remap it to the other one, right? And you're good to go. Okay. So really stinking cool. There's also things here like selecting the fixture, which just selects that DyLoS fixture for you. Really stinking cool. Okay. So NDI input, you can bring in that NDI and you can use it, which is beautiful. And then audio is killer too on the processor side. So you can come over here to audio, and you see here it automatically created one in the first slot, but then I can go create more, and I can now go over here to audio, which again, we got to set that up first. Oh no, we are on video. So we go to VU meter, go to audio, and then it says go to system IO settings to set it up. And now this is so stinky cool. We can literally bring in audio from any type of device. So just as an example, I have a Persona Studio Live that does all the audio into here, does, our microphone, all that jazz. Right, so I go over here, and I believe it's Studio Live Series 3. Okay. It tells me it should still work. It's been a minute since I did this, but I saw that there's actually going to be drivers installable or installed on consoles. So hopefully we can just plug in USB audio interfaces in, plug in a microphone, and off you go. But we're going to go here now back to audio. And yeah, now what we see is you can see my input from this microphone and every other channel on this digital audio console. And I can use them as a VU meter, as an audio filter, as a spectrum analyzer, as a waveform, etc. So let's just pull it in as waveform, for example. And then let's go ahead, once it comes in, and you see there we've got our waveform. They do deselect, you can see that once it kind of finalizes. Go choose an audio input, this time beat provider, go to my channel. And so now we've got the waveform on 2, the beat on 3. And so those are available both, I believe, via the sync and the input. Let's let it come in here. Yeah. And so now it's like on the input side and the sync side, you always have the same stuff in your library. Okay. But you can see here, we've got our beat, which is guessing off my voice, here And via the input, it's just a flash, right? The waveform is actually that audio waveform, and we can mix it in with stuff. But then on the sync tab, the beat one is actual BPM, which then comes up here. We're able to go ahead here into show details. And I know this looks wild, but we can actually now adjust the audio coming in, and it's going to tell us the BPM. And now, if we actually set that BPM up as our master beat, it's going to be the BPM for all of our chases. So there's essentially automatic BPM now available from the sound source inside of Onyx for chases and for DyLoS stuff. And we can go ahead and obviously set it up here for chases. But here in DyLoS, just for example, let's say we go to a generator. Oops, I've got the content in here. I'll take this and I'll give it some animation, right? And then I'm going to go ahead and take the speed of this guy. And don't think this is where I want to be, actually. I think I want to be in sync. And now you saw the speed change really quick. So now that speed is being attached to this BPM that it's taking off this microphone. And so this is one of those things that is really cool. Definitely spend some time with it because, I mean, obviously it's getting this BPM off of my voice. It's not really moving right now, but I have worked with this with music and it does work really well. I typically have like an on-off cue recorded, so just BPM from the microphone and then BPM from the microphone off, going back to just a set rate. Because sometimes you get that BPM and it's like, it's making your video sources like super fast, and that also kind of depends on what media you have chosen. You can see some of them are going to be like nuts fast and some of them move a little slower depending on how fast the clip moves. But it's definitely something cool to play with, something to work with, a lot of fun. We just got our BPM a little faster and really cool. With that as well, there are these beat dividers. So this is huge because you can go and you start with this slot here, the input slot, okay? And then we show details, I believe. And so now what this is going to do is this tells us all about the beat divider here. So yeah, so this is saying, hey, I go here to Gobo, because again, we're factoring everything into lighting. And it is now dividing my beat by 2, or I could go by 4, right? And now, and then I can go ahead. And so that's now saved for that audio channel. And so now it's like, hey, I can get this full speed and get this slowed down. But either way, it's working off that beat. And I'm able to make my content actually move with the pace of the music all the time. And so it's awesome. It's stupid cool. I've used it during shows. Having the beat dividers is really, really huge so that before you go live with that content, you can decide, okay, do I want, the direct BPM? Do I want it at half a measure? Do I want it at a quarter of a measure? Like a single, note. I'm not a musician. And you're good to go. So really stinking cool. What else? Palettes in effects slots and mask. Okay. Third-party ASIOs, audio, reverse playback, beat detection, beat tap with F keys. So that's cool. Reference processors with F keys. So you can, so these are cool. Just while we're in here on the beat, you can actually go in, and I haven't done this before. So it says that we can do a beat tap. So synchronization tap. So somehow we've got to get that available in there. I'm in beat divider right now, so I need to be in beat provider. Yep, synchronization tap. And then it says it allows you to set a custom BPM by tapping. You can link that to your chase cue list or DyLoS input. It works with the existing beat functionality in there. Okay. And then you can create a function key linked to the input slot. So let's see how that works. Right. So I'm just going to use one of the sidebar function keys. And then I'm going to edit it. And I want to go to, beat. And then, hey, we've got these options here. So I set it to 1.5 tap. And then let's select it here. look at that. Tap tempo inside Onyx. Isn't mapped to the effects yet, but I bet in due time we'll see that ability. But the fact is, it's for DyLoS and chases. We can now tap right on an F key, bring it into DyLoS, bring it into the chases, set it as our master tap. We get that feedback up here, which is awesome. It's so much fun to work with. Okay, what else? Audio monitoring, so you can listen to audio. Okay, cool. Good troubleshooting tool. Reverse playback for synced media playback and generators. Cool. Beat provider, beat detection. So yeah, I think we've hit pretty much all of the stuff that I'm really excited about. Yes, there are other things as well, but as you can already see, there's a lot of new cool features in Onyx 4.10, I believe, or 4.1, 4.10, that, no, it's 4.10 because there was a 4.9 and a 4.8, that are really exciting, and I was excited to bring those to you today. If you liked this and you want to dive deeper into every feature Onyx has, get one-on-one support through our community forums and be able to, just get into every feature, everything the software has, and have specific guides on specific types of lighting and how to get the most out of Onyx for it. The only place to get that is Learn Stage Lighting Labs. We're always up to date with the latest version of Onyx. We're the only place that does it. Plus, we have personalized pricing that extends to those Onyx consoles and any lighting you're looking for. So please check it out. We've got a free trial, and we would love to have you inside. Of course, this version came out today. The videos aren't updated for that yet, but they will be as quick as we can. Probably within a few months, we'll have all of them updated, and you can rock and roll and learn all of the latest free features in the latest version of Onyx and be ready to create great events with your lighting. If that resonates with you, or you're just looking to buy gear, check out either the Learn Stage Lighting Labs or our gear site, Learn Stage Lighting Gear, which is turning into Above AVL. You can get it at both places, and we'd love to be able to serve you if you're here in the US with that gear, or anywhere in the world if you're looking for help with Onyx. You want to learn, become the best you can be. Learn Stage Lighting Labs is the place to do it, and we'll see you there. Thanks.